Hello everyone, my name is John, I'm the Geeky Fanboy, and today we're doing like a little casual movie review. Actually, I'm going to review two movies, namely the two movies that everyone's been talking about for the past couple of weeks, namely Barbie and Oppenheimer. So I decided to do this little review because, I mean, these are probably the most talked about movies of the year, so of course I had to go see them, and I just wanted to give you like my quick thoughts on those films. I will talk about Barbie first because that's the movie I watched first. We didn't do like the Barbenheimer double feature on the same day, but my girlfriend and I, we did see Barbie on a Friday and watched Oppenheimer the next day on a Saturday. So I'm gonna talk about Barbie first, and then we're gonna jump into Oppenheimer. I will probably talk spoilers. I'm trying to refrain from like very heavy spoilers in case you haven't seen the movies yet, but I'm probably gonna go into some details to, point out some things. So here's a spoiler warning just in case. Okay, first up, let's talk about Barbie, directed by Greta Gerwig, starring Margot Robbie as Barbie, and of course Ryan Gosling as Ken, and a bunch of other cool people as other Barbies and other Kens. Yes, I was actually kind of low-key excited to go see this movie because, it looked, when I watched the trailer, it looked utterly ridiculous, and I thought, how can you make a halfway decent, entertaining film out of, Barbie? How could you do that? But, Greta Gerwig is a good director, so I was like, yeah, she's probably gonna manage something good. And overall, I didn't think that Barbie was great. I also didn't think it was horrible. I was just maybe like mildly disappointed. I'm not quite sure if that's the right word. First off, some positive things. The artwork, the directing, cinematography, the movie looks absolutely gorgeous. The visualization and the aesthetics work really, really well for the movie. Of course, it's very highly stylized. Because it is set in this, fictional Barbie world, the Barbie land, Barbie universe, and it's really well done, I think, especially in regards to like the physicality and the humor, how they play it. I think is really funny and very well done. The costumes fit; they're really like flashing sort of the highlights of the film, also used to sort of address, all the little accessories you can buy for Barbie. They sort of highlight that within the outfits, which is kind of funny. The acting is good across the board. Of course, Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling being like the standout performances of the movie. Where I have to say that I like Ryan Gosling even a bit more here. Why? I will come back to that in a minute. So yeah, like visually, it's great. It's fine. The music, soundtrack works. I like the acting. There are some scenes in there that I really, really like. The one that really stuck with me was there is like a Ken musical number in the second half of the film. If you've seen it, you know what I mean. That one was really, really fun and really good. The whole opening, I think, also works really well, where it sort of introduces you to Barbie Land and how it works. So, yeah, why the movie disappointed me a bit is that I was sort of disappointed with the writing. Like, I knew that, of course, Barbie was going to be a feminist movie, a movie that was going to try to address, the patriarchy and all that. And that is not where I see a problem. Because I do think we need movies like that that talk about these things. Of course, they're very important. I just didn't really like how the movie went about it, because it is very much, for me it was only surface level, and it was very in your face. Like, for example, the one scene that really stood out to me, that showed this to me, was that there is a scene in the movie where one of the characters goes on for like a literal 5-minute speech, almost to the camera, where she literally talks about what it means to be a woman in today's society. Just like talks about it for 5 minutes. And I'm like, yeah, I got that the movie was about that. You don't have to like directly tell me into my face for a 5-minute speech that this is directly what, I don't know, it just felt very weird and too much, yeah, like too much in your face. And the whole movie is sort of like that, because like, yeah, I get the message, I sort of get everything. It's just like, I wish you had it done in a slightly more, not necessarily subtle, but maybe like a bit of a different way. I just thought there was so much more you could have done with that premise. Since it's sort of about, you know, Barbie going to the real world along with Ken, and Ken sort of finds out, oh, you know, in this world, in our world, patriarchy is more of a thing, unlike Barbie Land, where, you know, there's a matriarchy. So of course that's sort of the very obvious allegory that's being drawn here, that, you know, in Barbie Land, it's like all the women who have all the jobs and are take charge of everything, are in charge of everything, and the Kens are being are the oppressed minority, and that sort of gets explored and turned around as the movie goes on. You're like, yeah, I totally got that. I totally get what you're trying to do here. I just wish you had done it with a bit more detail and subtlety, and to me it felt very surface level, was what the movie was trying to address. Obviously, I understand that the movie is also sort of meant to be watched also by younger audiences, and can't go into too many things all at once. I just thought there were many more things you could have addressed, should have addressed differently. Like, for example, the whole character with like the CEO of Martell didn't really work for me that much, because he was sort of watered down to be this cute, funny villain, not even really a villain, like, but like, I don't know, it didn't really feel right. And then like there's also, you know, like this whole image of, you know, that Barbie projects a very wrong image of femininity that gets again directly addressed to the camera by another character, and you're like, okay, yeah, cool, yeah, no, I mean, I see it, yeah, that's what I also thought, yeah, but thanks for telling me again to my face. I just think it doesn't do enough detailed work with all the themes that it's trying to address. And what I think is the problem here is that out of our two main characters, Barbie and Ken is the more interesting character. Like, Ryan Gosling's performance as Ken, and Ken as a character, stuck more with me than the titular Barbie character as played by Margot Robbie. And I'm not quite sure if that is what I was supposed to take away from the Barbie movie, if I thought Ken was the most interesting character. So, yeah, like some stuff I thought was missing that you could have included that would have been important in regards to, you know, like the whole feminism and gender aspect that you wanted to do. For example, it would have been really nice, what I thought personally, it would have been really nice to, like, I don't know, be told that, I know, boys can also play with Barbie. Because I thought when they came up with this idea, oh, it's because the child who's playing with Margot Robbie's Barbie character in the real world, I thought this would be so cool if the child that's playing with the Barbie was actually a boy or something like that. But no, it turns out to be a girl, and all the characters, all the kids we see in the beginning are like girls, and it's all about, you know, femininity and womanhood and motherhood and all that, which of course also belongs there. But I also thought, wouldn't it have also been nice to see, you know, that regardless of gender, you can play with a Barbie, you can be a Barbie, or I don't know, something like that. Because I was like, I was a four-year-old boy, and I had Barbies. I don't know, and I feel like it would have been nice to sort of see that this is also something that even nowadays is still a problem to some people, if boys want to play with dolls, but something like that the movie doesn't even address at all. So yeah, the movie wasn't bad. I think on my letterbox I gave it like a 3.5. It's just that I had wished there to be more exploration of the actual themes that the movie was addressing, you know, feminism and gender roles and all that. Of course, that stuff is there, it is important, but I didn't like how they went about it, how it was too much in your face, how there wasn't like any subtle detailed work with how they tried to address these themes. And in the end, it is a fun movie. There's some really funny scenes in there that really stuck with me. The performances are great. Aesthetically speaking, this movie is very pretty to look at, but it really lacks in the writing department. So I was glad that I watched it, but it's not necessarily a movie where I personally would say I would go out of my way to watch it again anytime soon. Unlike the next movie, Oppenheimer, which I think I should mention here, I've actually seen twice. So there is maybe a bit of a bias. So yeah, Oppenheimer, directed by Christopher Nolan, the 3-hour epic biopic about the father of the atom bomb. And what can I say except finally some good fucking cinema. This is honestly to me personally, one of the best movies I have seen in years. And I'm so glad that I saw it at the cinema, because this is a truly cinematic experience. Like when the movie was done, I like sat there and I was completely in awe and aghast with what I had just seen, because the movie to me was just that good. So in this, the writing works, I think, perfectly. It's a 3-hour long movie that I think doesn't feel at all like it's 3 hours long. Like every plot beat, every major storyline is warranted. It has a reason to be there, and the movie always gives you a new reason to get invested into the story. Like the first time I watched it at the cinema, I was like, okay, it gets to like the bit where the atom bomb gets tested, and then, you know, the bombings at Japan, and I was like, okay, what else could possibly happen off that? And for a minute my brain was like, is the movie starting to get too long now? But then the movie hits you with the third act, which is all about this hearing that Oppenheimer went through, and the movie immediately draws you back in with that. And this is what I think is the strength of the movie. It flows really nicely. It is a very dialogue-heavy movie with a bunch of different characters and real-life people. But the scenes flow really well. It's because it's like really quickly paced. The dialogue is spoken in a almost like rapid succession. The scenes move on quite quickly, but to me it never felt like it was rushed. And the movie always manages to like give you something new, like by introducing a new character, by having a character be played by a very well-known actor, but only like for a scene. So you go like, oh, okay, I know this person. Let's listen to them. Or there's a new character or plot element is introduced where the movie gives you something to latch onto again after the other cool thing has already happened. Where you're like, okay, we're done with that, but oh, what is that over there? Okay, now let's pay attention to this plot beat. The movie manages to do that so well. It has like sort of these 3 acts, you know, with first like sort of Oppenheimer as a student and as a young professor, what he taught at schools. Then of course like the whole middle bit that I'm going to come back to in a minute is like this whole Manhattan Project and the Trinity test, Second World War, that's all of that. And then the third act is, like I mentioned, this hearing that I think takes place in the 50s that Oppenheimer went through. And the movie jumps around all these different timelines. So you have several timelines. Some of them are even depicted in black and white. I think the one that's depicted in black and white is the most like present day timeline, I think, where we mainly follow Robert Downey Jr.'s character called Strauss, who is also sort of attending a hearing. It has also to do with Oppenheimer. And the movie jumps around those different timelines, which I kind of understand can maybe be a bit confusing, especially in the beginning, but I think after like the first 30 minutes or so, you're in there, you get what's going on, and going from there, I think you can understand relatively well when and where everything is happening. The whole composition of the movie is just really great. Like I said, the scenes flow really well. The dialogue works. The movie is also just like beautifully shot. The cinematography and the visual effects and everything are like really, really great, especially in combination with the amazingly beautiful soundtrack that you have. Like there were like a couple of moments in the film where I like honestly got a bit teary-eyed because it just looked and sounded so beautiful. Just an example, if you've seen the movie, there is like this little montage in the first third of the movie where we get a little montage of Oppenheimer's student days, I think, like student and early teaching days. It's like a little montage of that, and you get the soundtrack, the music. I think the track is called, on the soundtrack is called Can You Hear the Music or something. And it's such a beautiful piece of music, combined with how this montage is edited, just feels so weirdly emotional that I was sitting there and for a second I was like, am I gonna cry from like a montage in the first third of the movie? Kind of, a little bit. Like I said, that the movie flows really well. The music does a lot of not necessarily like heavy lifting, but definitely elevates and adds to every scene that is shown on screen. The best part of the movie is definitely the middle bit. There's like a whole sequence, I don't know how long it is, like maybe 30 minutes, that is all about, that starts with the bomb is getting assembled, and then the sequence is them planning the day of the Trinity test. And the tension that is being built in this middle part of the movie is probably the best thing in cinema and in movies I've seen in a long time, if not even ever, because the tension this sequence creates is beyond this world. Like, I was watching this, even the second time around, you just feel the tension. For 30 minutes, you're sitting there, grabbing the edge of your seat, like your heart, I literally had like my heart racing, and I had like cold sweat, because the build-up is so well done, because you know what is coming at the end of the sequence. You know they're gonna test the bomb. You're gonna see the bomb. The bomb will go off at the Trinity test. And you're just waiting to get there. Like, it's drawn out exactly the right amount, and it's absolutely like breathtaking to get there. And when you finally get to that moment, when the test happens and the bomb goes off, there is, and this could be considered, I don't know, for how it is done in the movie, maybe a spoiler how the explosion happens. The bomb goes off, and there is complete silence, which not only works well in a cinematic sense, but is also scientifically accurate, that they at first only saw the explosion but didn't hear it. And you just get to see this almost like beautifully rendered explosion of the first atom bomb and how the characters react to it. And not until like 40 seconds later, you get this absolutely enormous blast hitting your ears, where it like basically almost knocks the relief out of you. Also because the first time I watched it, I was like, oh, they're doing it silently. We're not gonna hear the bomb. And you just sit there and like the movie waits long enough for you to be like, huh, oh, okay, I guess I didn't have to be worried about the noise, and then boom, and then it directly hits you in the ears. And it worked so well. And this like whole middle sequence was my favorite part of the movie. And after that, you're sort of like, oh, okay, we've finally done that. We've been there, we've done that. And then at first you may be like, okay, but what else is gonna happen? Like, they're gonna drop the bomb on Japan, and then World War II is over. What else is gonna happen? But no, because I've heard some people say that, well, first I heard some people say that they didn't understand why the movie didn't show Japan being bombed. And I was like, that is not the point. The point of the movie is that this story is being told from Oppenheimer's point of view. Oppenheimer did not know. He did not see. He wasn't there. Which is why I think this works so well, that in the movie, literally immediately after the test is over, smash cut, the bombs are being taken away from the Trinity test site, from Los Alamos. And Oppenheimer sees them being taken away. We don't see what happens to them, and we find out alongside Oppenheimer in the movie, as he hears on the radio that the bomb has been dropped. And that's exactly how he should have done it, because you're in Oppenheimer's head in that scene. He didn't get to see that either. He didn't receive the information, so therefore we don't see the bomb being dropped on Japan. And then some people say, why not end like the movie there or shortly afterwards? Because that's not the end of the story of Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer, the person, still had a lot of stuff going on after World War II. There was this whole hearing that happened in the 50s where they, like, picked up again why, what did he do during World War II? Was he maybe a communist? It's all about this security clearing. Will he get it or not? And the third act, I think, works really well because it does a lot of like a great character work, great dialogue work, especially the character of Oppenheimer's wife, Kitty, really shines in this third act of the movie, especially when she gets to say like her part in this hearing, which was a really, really great scene. It was well acted. And then it all sort of wraps up with this black and white timeline where we've followed Strauss in this sort of like almost like framing narrative, which was like, okay, what did he have to do with this hearing in the 50s? And then it all sort of like wraps up, even with like a tiny bit of a plot twist, I guess. I don't know how much of a plot twist you can have in a historical movie, but yeah, it sort of like wraps us up really nice to once again like for one last time to like sort of gain your attention. And then the last scene, I won't spoil what they say, but it's between Oppenheimer and Einstein. It's such a poignant ending, I think, with the final line that is being said in the movie. And yeah, I could go on because this movie like really stuck with me. This is really one of, to me personally, one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. I've never gone to the cinema twice to watch a movie that I liked. This is the first time this has ever happened because I was just so in awe of what this movie has done. And it leaves you with a thirst for more, to know more about Oppenheimer the person, more about what, is going on with, atomic weapons, and leaves you with this really, with a really heavy feeling where this movie really stays with you and makes you think about not just Oppenheimer the person, but also just about so many other things, about like moral dilemmas, the human ego, and so many other things. And I'm just so glad I was able to watch this at the cinema. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Barbie and Oppenheimer. I'm really glad I saw both movies, and I'm honestly kind of glad Barbenheimer became such a big thing, because cinemas have had such a hard time, especially during the pandemic. And now, with these two movies, cinema sort of makes a comeback. And it's just great to see that so many people go to cinemas again, because they really need it. And especially with movies like Oppenheimer, I'm glad that we have a movie that has gained so much attention and praise, and it's just a standalone movie. It's not a big franchise movie. I mean, sure, at this point Barbie is not, but there's potential, Barbie is still sort of like a big established product, and Oppenheimer is just like this one standalone cinematic, I'm gonna use the word masterpiece, maybe in air quotes, but it's just really nice to see that movies like that are still being made, and where you're really, really glad when you can see them at the cinema. Okay, so those are my thoughts on Barbie and Oppenheimer. Please do tell me down in the comments below what your thoughts on both movies are. Did you do the double feature? Did you do Barbenheimer? Have you only seen one of the movies or both? Or just tell me down in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already done that. And I'll see all of you very soon. Goodbye.